Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. We are going to be doing sunflower Christmas ornaments. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bulb and I'm going to cover it with white based paint. It's acrylic paint. I'm going to do my first base coat first. That is how I get my color to stick to the plastic. So before we get started, I'd like to ask you if you could please subscribe to my channel. It helps me out more than you know. And if you could like it and possibly comment if you do like it, that helps me out too. Another great thing you could do is to share this video with friends. All right, so now that we want to start, I'm going to go in the center and I'm going to do the circle of my Christmas ornament. And this will be the circle for the sunflower. I want to paint this very, very thin because the thinner we paint it, the quicker it's going to dry. So we're going to do the circle and then we're going to do the petals. I'm going to start from the top and work my way down. And I'm going to do that all the way around. And remember to try to keep your paint as thin as possible, because I'll also stop it from having weird bumps on it as well. Okay, so that is our first coat, and we're going to go back and wait for this to dry, and we'll be going to do the second coat. Okay, now that my second coat of paint is fully done, I just want to remind everybody, if you haven't done the coat of paints yet, make sure that in between each coat you let it fully dry. If you don't let it fully dry, you're going to start seeing that first layer come up, and that's with any layer that you're doing. So now that both my layers are fully dry, I'm going to go back and I'm going to go over it with a solid coat of yellow paint. Okay, now I'm going to let that fully dry. Okay, So now that I have my 2 coats of white paint and my first layer of yellow, I'm going to start with some of the blending. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of the brown, the dark brown, and I'm going to go right into the middle and I'm going to fade it upwards just like that. I'm going to take my yellow and I'm going to start from the other side, and I'm going to start from the top and work my way down. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing with the next petal. Oh, that's a little bit too much. That's okay. Nice thing is, if you add a little bit too much, you could always take it back off, or you can totally paint over it. Now these are going to seem very dark at first, but it's okay because we're going to go back over later and we're going to paint over it and light them up, lighten it up. Now because I kept this so thin with my paint, by the time I get back to this one, it's pretty dry. So I'm just going to give myself a little bit more yellow. I'm going to try to make some of the edges a little bit lighter. So I'm going to pick my left side, and that way it looks like it's on top of the next one. And sometimes you have to add a little bit of white just to make it a little bit lighter. So specifically right here, this is where I'm going to add my white, and that will cover underneath a little bit. And you're going to start to see that's going to look like this petal is on top of this one. Again in some areas. I'm going to lighten up the tops. And in places you don't want to have it full color, just lightly touch it. So now I'm going to let that fully dry and we'll go back to the next step. Okay, so now that this is fully dry, I'm going to go back and I'm going to fix some of my edges. A lot of times if my paint went too far on one of them, I could just take my nail and scrape it away. Paint my tips again and my side. Okay, so now I'm going to take my dark brown, my black, and white. I'm going to have those on there, and I'm going to take my brown and I'm going to dab in a circle all the way around in the center. And then I'm going to take barely any paint, and I'm just going to put it right in the corners, like, and have it go in almost in a triangle. Just like that, just so it separates the petals at the bottom just a little bit. Just like that. I'm going to let that fully dry. Okay, for the last step, I'm going to take my black and I'm just going to do a couple dots in the center, almost like an eye. I'm going to take the dots and I'm going to just dot around the outside. I want to have a couple in the inside ring, not too many. Then we're going to take the brown. I want to dot the inside ring again and have some on the outside. I'm going to take a little bit of white, and this will be the highlight, and you'll really start to see it when it starts to dry. We want to just add a couple white dots to the outside. And a couple dead center. And if you add too many, that's okay, because you can go over it again with brown or black paint. So like here's a little bit too white. I'm going to add a little bit of brown to cover that up. And when it fully dries, you'll see that it's a perfect center. Well, that's it. You can do as many as you want. If you wanted to do the orange one instead of having the brown on the petals, you could always add that with the yellow instead of the brown, and it's easy as that. If you want to have a little bit more detail on doing other sunflowers, we do have another tutorial just specifically for a big sunflower painting. It's a little bit bigger, so it might be a little bit easier to see. So if you're having trouble with this one, you want to watch that one and come back to this, that might also help you. Well, thank you for joining me today, and please subscribe if you haven't, and I hope to see you do a couple more of my other paintings. If you do paintings would like to share, we are Mixed Matchmake Creations on Facebook. We're also on MeWe and Instagram. We would love to see all of your work. Thank you again. Bye.